Ty and I are having a legal wedding.
You and Ty are getting married.
Wait,
Ty and I are getting married.
Wait, these bombs just keep dropping.
Can you serve two masters at a time?
Huh?
Can you serve two masters at a time?
What the hell?
You're not her master.
The most disturbing thing Lisa revealed at the tell-all was not that Daniel still calls her his wife. It was not even the moment he asked whether she could serve two masters, which sounded less like a relationship discussion and more like somebody had accidentally opened the wrong chapter of a medieval handbook. The real bombshell was Lisa saying that during a potentially life-threatening ectopic pregnancy, she was so afraid of Daniel's reaction that she went through the hospital experience without allowing her own daughter to be there. And if that account is true, then this relationship was far more controlling than it ever looked on the surface. Daniel was thousands of miles away in Nigeria. He was not standing outside the hospital. He was not physically preventing Faith from walking through the door. But according to Lisa and Faith, his opinion still determined who Lisa could tell, who could support her, and how alone she felt during one of the most frightening experiences of her life. Daniel disputes that version. He says he was blocked and could not support her. Lisa says they tried to reach him. Faith says he was unavailable. So before we even get to the curse, the cheating accusations, the disputed wedding, and Daniel acting like a breakup requires his personal signature, we already have 3 different versions of the same medical crisis. Then the story becomes even more tangled. Daniel says a ceremony Lisa believed was a spiritual cleansing also made them traditionally married. Lisa says she did not knowingly agree to a wedding. Daniel says she cheated with Ty. Lisa says the relationship had already ended. Daniel says it could not end because he still considers her his wife. And that is the question sitting underneath this entire mess. Is Daniel holding on because he genuinely believes they are married? Is he refusing to let go because he cannot handle losing control? Or does the relationship still represent something practical, emotional, or financial that he is not ready to lose? But Lisa has a question to answer too. Has she really escaped Daniel, or has she simply changed boyfriends while continuing to let Daniel's anger, his spiritual claims, and his definition of their relationship control everything she does next? Because this was never just a love story gone wrong. It was a cycle built on secrecy, fear, dependency, and 2 people changing the rules whenever the truth stopped working in their favor. And the medical revelation is where we have to begin, because that is the moment this story stops being entertaining reality television chaos and becomes genuinely serious. Lisa says she became pregnant after having sex with Daniel and later suffered an ectopic pregnancy. She had previously undergone what she described as a partial hysterectomy, so she says neither of them believed pregnancy was possible. A lot of viewers immediately questioned that story. Some fans said the timeline did not make sense. Others argued that pregnancy after a hysterectomy sounded impossible. And because this is reality television, where people have lied about everything from secret marriages to whose toothbrush is in whose bathroom, viewers are naturally skeptical. But skepticism still has to be responsible. Pregnancy after a hysterectomy is extremely rare, but ectopic pregnancies after certain hysterectomy procedures have been medically documented. An ectopic pregnancy develops outside the uterus and can lead to severe bleeding and a life-threatening emergency. So the fair position is not, Lisa must be lying because the story sounds strange. The fair position is also not, everything happened exactly as Lisa described because she said it on television. The show did not provide hospital records. We did not hear from a doctor. We did not see a detailed medical timeline. We did not see the messages that would prove who was blocked, who called, or what Daniel allegedly told her. What we have is Lisa's on-camera account, supported in part by Faith and challenged in part by Daniel. But even without pretending we know every medical detail, the relationship dynamic can still be examined. Lisa says Daniel did not want Faith to know. She says she was so worried about upsetting him that she would not allow Faith to come with her to the hospital. Think about the amount of influence that requires. Daniel was not in the same city. He was not in the same country. He did not have to physically isolate Lisa because, according to her, she was already changing her own behavior to avoid his disapproval. That is the part viewers should focus on. If Lisa's account is accurate, keeping Daniel calm had become more important to her than having support during a serious medical emergency. That is not ordinary compromise between partners. That is a relationship in which fear of conflict has started overriding basic self-protection. And this is where the power imbalance becomes more complicated than it looked during the season. On paper, Lisa appeared to have more power. She was the American partner. She had more control over international travel, possible immigration opportunities, and perhaps financial support. She was older. She had more relationship experience. From the outside, many viewers assumed Lisa held all the cards. But emotional power does not always follow money, age, or citizenship. Daniel had a different kind of authority. He became Lisa's interpreter of Nigerian culture, tradition, religion, and spiritual meaning. He could tell her what a ritual represented. He could tell her what a curse meant. He could tell her what a traditional wife was expected to do. And because Lisa often appeared unsure about what was happening around her, his explanation became the version she had to respond to. That kind of dependence creates its own power imbalance. When one partner controls the meaning of every unfamiliar event, the other partner is always reacting from a weaker position. Lisa could watch the same ceremony as Daniel and walk away believing she had been spiritually cleansed. Daniel could later tell her that the ceremony also made her his wife. Lisa could experience a medical crisis and wonder whether it was connected to a curse. Daniel could position himself as the person who understood the curse and what it required. Whether the curse is objectively real is almost beside the point. The important thing is that Lisa appears to believe it may be real. A belief does not need to be scientifically proven to influence somebody's choices. If Lisa believed the ceremony spiritually bound her to Daniel, then that fear could keep her attached even after the romantic relationship had collapsed. That is why the curse storyline matters so much. It gave Daniel's influence a life outside the relationship. Lisa did not simply have to break up with a man. She believed she also had to escape a spiritual consequence connected to him. And then Daniel added the marriage claim. According to Daniel, the ceremony was not only a cleansing. It was also a traditional wedding. He repeatedly calls Lisa his wife and uses that claim to argue that her relationship with Ty is cheating. Lisa says she did not know she was getting married. That contradiction is far more important than whether they received a familiar-looking certificate. The show focused heavily on the lack of legal paperwork, but customary marriage is not always measured by the same process American viewers expect. Different Nigerian communities can have different traditions involving family participation, bride price, witnesses, consent, and ceremonial steps. So nobody watching a heavily edited television segment should pretend to make a final legal ruling from the couch. But one issue cuts through all of that complexity. Did Lisa knowingly consent to marriage? Because if Lisa genuinely believed she was attending a cleansing ceremony, while Daniel believed they were completing a wedding, then the problem is not simply cultural confusion. The problem is that the two people supposedly entering the marriage did not agree on what was happening. A healthy marriage cannot begin with one person saying, "We are married forever," while the other person says, "I did not even know that was a wedding." And if Lisa did not knowingly agree to become Daniel's wife, then Daniel is not merely describing the ceremony differently. He is claiming authority over her based on a meaning she says was hidden from her. That should have been the central question at the tell-all. Not, "Where are the papers?" Not, "Who performed the ceremony?" The real question should have been, "Lisa, did you clearly understand that you were entering a marriage, and did you freely agree to it?" Instead, the conversation moved quickly into Daniel's cheating accusations and his refusal to accept the breakup. Lisa says the relationship is over. Daniel says it is not over. Lisa tells him she no longer loves him. Daniel continues calling her his wife. Lisa introduces Ty as her new partner. Daniel says she is cheating because, in his mind, the first relationship never ended. That creates a bizarre situation where Daniel behaves as if a breakup requires his approval. It does not. A relationship requires two people to continue. It only requires one person to end it. Daniel is allowed to disagree with Lisa's version of events. He is allowed to believe she handled the breakup dishonestly. He is allowed to feel betrayed by her connection with Ty. He may even have valid questions about when that friendship became romantic. But he cannot keep a romantic relationship active simply by refusing to recognize its ending. That is why the two masters comment became such a huge moment. To give Daniel the most generous interpretation, he may have been referring to the familiar expression that one person cannot serve two masters. He may have meant that Lisa could not divide her loyalty between two men. Language and cultural differences matter, especially on a show that can turn one awkward sentence into an entire commercial campaign. But context matters even more. Daniel did not use the word master in isolation. He also said Lisa was his. He insisted Ty needed to respect his traditional marriage. He spoke as if Lisa's decision to leave did not matter because his claim as a husband came first. So even if the phrase itself was awkward rather than literal, the larger attitude still sounded possessive. The red flag was not one badly chosen word. The red flag was Daniel's belief that his status as a husband could override Lisa's choice. And this is where the audience becomes sharply divided. Some fans feel Daniel has been using culture, spirituality, and tradition to keep Lisa psychologically trapped. They point to the ceremony, the curse, the marriage claim, and his refusal to accept the breakup. In that interpretation, each new claim gives Lisa another reason to stay emotionally engaged. First, she is spiritually connected to him. Then she is traditionally married to him. Then any new relationship becomes cheating. Then leaving him becomes a violation of culture rather than a personal decision. A different section of the audience sees Daniel as a man reacting badly to betrayal. Those viewers argue that Lisa hid major parts of her past, developed a close emotional relationship with Ty during a messy breakup period, and then announced a new boyfriend while Daniel still believed they were together. From that perspective, Daniel may be possessive, but Lisa is also cleaning up the timeline to make herself look completely innocent. And honestly, the strongest interpretation may be that both of them are giving the version that benefits them most. Daniel benefits from saying the relationship never ended. That allows him to call Lisa a cheater, maintain a claim on her, and present himself as the husband who was betrayed. Lisa benefits from saying the relationship clearly ended before anything romantic happened with Ty. That allows her to reject the cheating accusation and present Ty as a healthy new beginning rather than an emotional overlap. Both have reasons to frame themselves as the injured person. That does not mean their behavior is equal. It means the truth is probably more complicated than either side wants the audience to believe. Lisa entered the relationship with major omissions. She did not fully disclose her marriage history. She delayed revealing important details about her romantic past. She expected honesty from Daniel while withholding information she knew might affect whether he wanted the relationship. Daniel, meanwhile, faced repeated questions about other women, suspicious contacts, and what exactly he expected from Lisa. Earlier parts of their story also raised questions about money and whether the relationship had practical benefits for him. None of that proves Daniel was only interested in a green card or financial support. Suspicion is not proof, no matter how confidently somebody says it into a microphone. But Daniel's behavior naturally keeps those questions alive. If his only motivation is love, why does so much of his language focus on ownership, status, and what Lisa owes him as a wife? And if Lisa's only motivation is freedom, why does she admit that she has such a hard time staying away from him? That second question explains why Daniel appears so confident that the breakup will not last. He says Lisa will contact him again. He acts like she will change her mind within minutes. On the surface, that sounds completely detached from reality. But Lisa herself admits Daniel keeps finding a way back into her life. She admits she struggles to resist him. She even says marrying Ty could help her stay away from Daniel. So Daniel may have learned that when Lisa says, "It is over," the relationship is still open for negotiation. Their entire history appears to follow the same cycle. A secret comes out. One person threatens to leave. The other person makes a dramatic promise. They reconcile. Another secret appears. Then the process starts all over again. Eventually, both people learn that no revelation has permanent consequences. Every betrayal can be explained. Every breakup can be challenged. Every boundary can be pushed until it moves. This does not excuse Daniel ignoring Lisa's decision, but it may explain why he believes persistence will eventually be rewarded. And this is exactly why Ty cannot solve the problem for Lisa. Ty matters to the Daniel storyline because Lisa seems to be using the new relationship as proof that the old one is finished. She says she loves Ty. She says she plans to marry him. And she says being with Ty will help keep Daniel out of her life. That statement should worry viewers more than the age gap. Marriage should not be used as a boundary enforcement device. Ty should not have to become a human wall between Lisa and Daniel. If Lisa cannot maintain distance from Daniel unless another man occupies that emotional space, then Daniel still controls the structure of her life. Freedom is not marrying somebody Daniel dislikes. Freedom is reaching the point where Daniel's anger, predictions, marriage claims, and spiritual warnings no longer determine what Lisa does. And right now, they still do. Daniel is present when Lisa talks about Ty. He is present when she discusses moving to Nigeria. He is present when she talks about getting the curse broken. He is present when she explains why another marriage might help her stay away. Daniel may have lost the boyfriend title, but he still occupies an enormous amount of emotional space. That is not closure. That is a relationship continuing through conflict instead of affection. Faith's role makes this even more painful. Faith is not simply Lisa's daughter appearing at the tell-all to defend her mother. She has become Lisa's emotional first responder. She challenges Daniel. She explains the hospital situation. She tries to protect Lisa from spiritual and emotional manipulation. She warns her not to rush into another relationship. And if Lisa's medical account is accurate, Faith was kept away during a serious emergency because Lisa feared Daniel's reaction. Imagine being placed in that position. Faith is close enough to be expected to help repair the damage, but not always allowed to intervene while the crisis is happening. She carries responsibility without having real control. She can advise Lisa. She can travel with Lisa. She can challenge the men Lisa dates. But she cannot make Lisa maintain boundaries. Some viewers feel Faith is the clearest victim in the entire storyline. Others say she enables Lisa by continuing to participate in each new plan. But that may be unfair. If Faith believes Lisa will return to Nigeria with or without her, accompanying Lisa may feel less like approval and more like harm reduction. Sometimes supporting someone does not mean believing the decision is wise. Sometimes it means knowing they're going to make the decision anyway and trying to make it slightly less dangerous. The larger pattern is that Lisa seems to respond to every internal problem with an external solution. A new boyfriend becomes proof that she is still desirable. A new marriage becomes protection from the old relationship. A church ceremony becomes the solution to the curse. A return to Nigeria becomes a chance to rewrite the ending. Every answer exists outside Lisa. What we have not seen is Lisa stop and examine why the Daniel relationship became so powerful in the first place. Why did she tolerate his influence for so long? Why did she begin the relationship with major omissions? Why does romantic attention appear to give her confidence? Why does she need Ty to make the breakup feel permanent? Why is she still debating Daniel's definition of the marriage instead of stepping outside the argument completely? Those questions will matter long after viewers stop discussing the tell-all. Because Daniel does not have to speak to Lisa every day to continue shaping her choices. A person can leave a relationship physically while still organizing their life around proving something to the ex. That is what Lisa appears to be doing. She wants to prove that Daniel did not defeat her. She wants to prove the curse will not control her. She wants to prove that Ty loves her better. She wants to prove she can return to Nigeria without seeing Daniel. But every time Daniel remains the person she is reacting against, he stays emotionally relevant. And that is why I do not believe the biggest risk is a full romantic reconciliation. The more likely outcome is continued entanglement. Daniel may continue calling Lisa his wife. He may keep contacting her. He may challenge Ty's proposal. He may claim that any future marriage is invalid. He may bring up the curse again. And Lisa may continue responding, not because she wants Daniel back, but because she feels the need to defend herself. That is the trap. Every attempt to prove Daniel has no power gives him another opportunity to influence her. If producers follow Lisa back to Nigeria, the disputed marriage almost writes the next storyline by itself. Will Daniel contact her? Will he appear in person? Will he challenge Ty? Will Lisa panic about the curse? Will Faith try to stop another rushed wedding? Daniel does not even need to arrive dramatically at a ceremony. One phone call could put him right back in the center of Lisa's new relationship. And that may become the first major conflict between Lisa and Ty.